We're facing a mental health crisis in this country that is not getting any better. Right now, over 60 million Americans, nearly 1 in 4 adults, are living with some form of mental illness. Among young people, teenagers, young adults, those numbers are even more alarming. About half of all American teenagers will experience a diagnosable mental health condition, half. And we keep throwing individual solutions at the collective problem. The root issue is disconnect, isolation, a deep, profound lack of community. And here's what I know about healing. Every model that actually works is communal. Let me ask you something before I even tell you who I am. Right now, today, over 60 million Americans are living with some form of mental health illness. 1 in 10 adults have a mental health crisis in the last year alone. And if you're an entrepreneur or a founder, the numbers get even worse. Studies show that 72% of entrepreneurs deal with mental health challenges. That's compared to 48% of the general population. 72%. And yet, the way we're fixing this, it's not working, right? We keep prescribing individual solutions to what is fundamentally a collective problem. And I think the people who have the most power to actually change that are sitting exactly where you are right now. My name's Alyse Pfankuch, and this podcast is my attempt to do something about all of that. Welcome, but more importantly, please stay. Because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes might completely change how you think about the business you're building, the life you're living, and the legacy you're going to be leaving behind. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am and why I'm doing all of this, because I think my why is going to resonate with you. I work with entrepreneurs and founders using something called ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, combined with positive psychology. And I help people do something that sounds simple, but actually incredibly hard. I help them figure out who they were, who they are right now, and who they want to become. And then I help them build a life and a business that actually reflects that. But before I tell you what I do, I want to tell you why I do it. After 10 years of studying psychology and a master's degree in counseling and helping hundreds of people, not to mention business owners, fitness owners, I've discovered that the one-on-one and, needed conversation week after week is honestly, it's just putting a Band-Aid on top of cancer, honestly. Like, it has its time and its place, but the real reality is when we can come together as a collective. The one thing that I noticed that stuck with me is that mental health models that actually work are communal. Look at rehab programs, look at AA, look at grief groups. The healing isn't the program, it's the people in the room. It always has been. And yet we keep treating mental health like it's a private problem with private solutions. Go to therapy alone, take medications alone, process your trauma alone, and then wonder why people aren't getting anywhere. Research even backs this up, right? People with a strong sense of community, belonging, are nearly 5 times more likely to report strong mental health than those who feel isolated. In a world with AI and social media, more than ever, we do not need to feel isolated. 5 times. That's not a small number. And then there's the generational piece. This is what lights me up. And honestly, it's what keeps me up at night. We're hitting the silver tsunami of people retiring and people needing to buy up the businesses or the torch needing to be handed down somehow. We're living in a moment where an entire generation of business owners and entrepreneurs are building companies, building wealth, building influence, and a lot of them are not stopping to ask, what does this leave behind? What am I teaching the people coming after me? What does my legacy actually look like? And I'm not talking about leaving money. I'm talking about leaving a way of being in the world. The way you treat people, the values you build, especially in your business. Whether you show up whole or you show up as a version of yourself that's been hollowed out by pressure and isolation and the myth that you have to be doing all of this alone, it shows. I decided someone needed to start asking better questions, and I figured it might as well be me. So what this podcast is and isn't. Let me be really clear about what the podcast is and what it's not. This is not to show where someone comes from and tells you how they hit 7 figures, what their morning routine looks like, as lavish as we've seen, or why waking up at 4 a.m. changes their life. There are plenty of those shows, especially on YouTube. They're not this. This is how, basically, what's happening underneath and the psychology that goes behind all of it. The story. The things that are quietly running the show, whether you're aware of them or not. And here's something that I think a lot of people in the entrepreneurial space are afraid to say out loud. Entrepreneurs struggle a lot. One survey found that 87% of entrepreneurs are dealing with at least one mental health challenge. 87%. Anxiety, burnout, imposter syndrome, loneliness. And 70% of entrepreneurs say they feel lonely throughout their whole journey. 50% of CEOs say that loneliness actively hurts their performance. And the really pitfall part, painful part, my apologies, 81% of founders hide their stress and from others. More than half hide it from their own co-founders. They're building in silence, and we wonder why we feel so alone at the top. This podcast exists to break that open. Every conversation on this show goes deep on 3 main things: psychology, what actually driving in the decision making, what patterns are you running on autopilot that you haven't even looked at yet, what stories are you telling yourself about what's possible, what you deserve, what you're capable of. Then number 2, legacy. Not in the distant future, not when you're dead and gone. Right now, today. Are the decisions you're making building towards something that matters? Are you living in alignment with what you actually want to be remembered for? And finally, number 3, community. Out of all things, who's around you? And I don't mean your LinkedIn connections. I mean the people who know what you actually are going through. The people who hold your vision and are serious about what you're doing. Because nobody builds anything great really alone. And the research proves that. Every single guest who sits down with me leaves having thoughts about something they've never been asked before. That's the point. The whole point. Now, if you're watching this because you think about being a guest on the show and someone shares this with you because they think you should be, let me know what you think I should be adding, but let me also tell you what to expect, because I want you to feel completely comfortable before you hit record with me. First, this is not an interview. I'm not going to fire questions at you. This is a conversation. Pulling teeth is the last thing any audience wants to listen to. And there's definitely a difference. Here's how our conversations will typically flow after a few hundred of them that I've already been through. We start with your original story, not your LinkedIn bio, your actual story, the former you, where you came from, the moment you made who you are, because I believe if you want to understand where someone's going, you have to understand where you've been. And then we're going to go into what drives you beneath the surface, not what you want people to think is driving you. That's what's actually driving you, your values, your fears, the defining moment that shaped the way you see everything, not just the mission statement on your website. This is where the conversation actually gets real, really fast. Then we get into legacy. What do you want to leave behind? Not that abstract specifically. What you want to say about you. What do you want the business and the community and the relationships you build to look like after you're gone? And here's the important question. Are the choices you're making today actually building towards that? And we'll close with what you're building right now. What's in the way? Because that's almost the most important part, right? The day-to-day operations. People constantly tell me afterwards that they felt like practically a therapy session in the best way possible. They've walked away with more clarity, having a lot more to process on their mind on the next steps they want to have. And that's what I'm going for. Not a highlight reel, a real conversation. And for you as a guest, this is an opportunity. You get exposure to an audience of driven, psychologically minded entrepreneurs, and you get conversation that might genuinely help you think through something important. And you get to be a part of something that I truly believe is continuing to be much larger in a shift of how the world is going to be functioning moving forward, in how we build business and community. And lastly, kind of the deeper mission behind it all. I want to go a little deeper right now on the why behind all of this, because if I think it matters and I don't want to get lost in just the podcast description, I'm gonna have to spell it out for you. We're facing a mental health crisis in this country that is not getting any better. Let's be 100% honest about that. Right now, over 60 million Americans, nearly 1 in 4 adults, are living with some form of mental illness. Nearly 13 million have had serious thoughts of suicide. And among young people, teenagers, young adults, those numbers are even more alarming. About half of all American teenagers will experience a diagnosable mental health condition during their lifetime. Half. And we keep throwing individual solutions at the collective problem. More apps, more hotlines, more prescriptions. And those things aren't bad. Some of them can be needed. But they're not solutions to the rooted issue as a country. The root issue is disconnect, isolation, a deep, profound lack of community. And here's what I know about healing. Every model that actually works is communal. Rehab, AA, grief, group therapy. The research shows itself over and over again. Leave the therapy part out of all of this, since I want to talk to fitness owners and fitness community builders. What all do you end up doing? Community groups, community events, group activities. I'm never going to a yoga session and it's just me and the instructor. It's usually a giant community group. Most big public gyms. I don't get my own private room. I gotta be in the community. Community belonging isn't just nice to have, it's one of the most powerful predictors of mental health that we can have. Now, let me tell you about the framework I use in my work, because I think it's going to land differently once you hear it. I work with a therapeutic model called ACT, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. And before you tune out because it sounds clinical, let me tell you what it actually means in plain language. Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, ACT, has been studied for over 325 randomized control trials, I think. It's been shown to be an effective and traditional concept when it comes to cognitive behavioral therapy for anxiety, depression, addiction, chronic stress. And here's what matters, in the most part of how we're going to be able to integrate that into other approaches. ACT doesn't try to get rid of your difficult thoughts and feelings. It teaches you to stop letting them run your life. The label you receive as a diagnosis doesn't get to be an excuse for how you live your life. There's a huge difference between those two things. Most high-performing entrepreneurs I work with are in a constant state of running from uncertainty, from the fear of failure, from the feeling you're not enough, and not doing enough. And that's all going to fall apart. ACT gives you a way to stop running and start building towards something instead. Combined with positive psychology, which is about amplifying what already is working for you, not just fixing what's broken, it becomes a real powerful combination. And here's how I structure the work I do with people. I call it past, present, future framework. The past, what formed you? What experiences, relationships, beliefs are you still quietly letting run in the background, shaping your decisions without you realizing it? We don't live in the past, but the past often lives in us. And until you look at it with a powerful lens, you're not going to see it. And there's the present, what you actually commit to right now. Not what are you saying you're committing to, what does your calendar actually say? What does your energy say? Where are you really showing up? And where are you just going through the motions? Because most people I work with find a significant gap between their stated value, that mission statement on your website, and their lives, their reality. And that gap is where the pain can live. And finally, the future, which is where we all began in this conversation to begin with. What does the legacy you want to actually have require of you? Starting now, not eventually, not when you're having more money or more time or more certainty. What does it require of you today? Because legacy is not built on one dramatic moment. It's built in the thousands of small choices you make every single day. And here's the piece that I keep coming back to, the generational responsibility piece. The generation of entrepreneurs building right now is going to shape what the next generation believes is possible, normal, worth caring about. And that's not a small thing. You prioritize people and productivity in a way that you end up shaping your business, the values you lead, whether you're honest about your struggles or your performance. All of this gets absorbed by the people around you, by your employees, your community, your kids. One study found that the entrepreneurs spend 73% less time with friends and family, 60% less time with their spouses, 58% less time with their children, the average level of loneliness reported by the founders is 7.6 out of 10. And 62% of them say they feel they're sacrificing their present life for a future success that may never arrive. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of statistics, but I promise you, I'm telling you all, it is so important you don't even understand how mass the numbers are. I don't know or don't want any of that for you, and I don't know anybody that would want that for you, and I don't think you want that for yourself. You started your business because you wanted freedom or impact or to build something that mattered at most, right? Not to end up more isolated and more disconnected than you even started. That's what this podcast is trying to fix. The real conversations, one at a time. The community is something that I hope we can all build together. The podcast is one piece of what I'm building. But I want to tell you about a bigger picture because it's connection, obviously, right? Podcast. Wow, what a, hypocritical thing. We need community, and it's a one-on-one conversation where the listener gets to be the community. I run a community online. I have been a therapist and have run multiple community groups in the past. And now I'm launching a whole cohort list of them online. A mastermind coaching experience, basically. And the best way I can describe it is, it's the room I wish I had experienced when I was figuring all of this out. Here's what the community is for. For entrepreneurs and founders who have done the strange work that it takes to even recognize that they're ready to be an entrepreneur. Those people who've read the books and listened to the podcasts and hired the coaches and hit the milestones and still feel like something is missing. Those entrepreneurs and founders. The people that are building the businesses that want it all to look right on paper, but don't feel right in their body. Like they're seceding from someone else's definition of success and slowly losing themselves. Inside the community, we've done quite a bit of deep work, but I promise you, it's where so many people have been able to find home, find comfort, find the actual support group. Like running a business is a marathon, but it doesn't have to feel like the marathon. Where in the middle, no one's clapping for you. That's what this is for. In a ACT-based kind of progress, because I want you to work through what is the past part that's holding you back. What's in the present day, problems of creating stability within your own life that's causing actual disruption in running your business, because obviously we're here to support that too, but the future process so that we can all learn and grow and mentor and develop a greater sense of generational impact. Applying your actual life in your actual business, not generic frameworks and cookie cutter things of something that maybe you'll use and never look at again. And we do it with other people who are in the same journey, because that's the whole point, right? Community is the machine. And I want you to have the access to people who will hold your legacy vision as seriously as you will hold it, who will call you forward when you're playing small, who understand the pressure you're under because they're under it too. Or maybe they finally overcame it. What people walk away with is clarity. Real, specific answers to questions like, what is my legacy? What does it actually require of me? Not a vague aspiration, a concrete direction, and a group of people walking alongside them. I can't tell you how many people tell me the most inspiring stories and send me messages later about the way it's made them feel. And the idea of loneliness never comes across their mind. But it's not me. It's the groups that I've been able to create and the communities and conversations we've been able to hold in the same space. If everything I've talked about in this episode really resonates with you, not just intellectually, but somewhere deeper, I want to have that conversation with you. Not a sales call, a real conversation about where you are and where you want to be going. Because the next generation is what we need to be looking at and taking care of. Your legacy is what we need to be taking care of. Before I let you go, here's what I want you to do with all of this information. I'm sorry it's been a lot, but I promise you I genuinely appreciate your time and your consideration. If you're an entrepreneur or a founder who wants to come on the show and have one of these real conversations, absolutely reach out to me. If you visit AlysePfankuch.com, it should be at the absolute top of the page that you can certainly fill out a form and come on my podcast. I'd love to sit down with you. If you know someone who should be on the show, someone building something real, someone who's ready to go deeper with tactics and business strategy, share this video with them. It's the best introduction you can give them to what we are doing here. I can't tell you the amount of people I wish could have more access to the people that have been making a difference, even in my own life, hearing their stories. And if the community piece resonates, if what I describe sounds like the room you've been looking for, please reach out to me. I want to get you connected. I want to close with this. I opened this episode by talking about 60 million Americans struggling with mental illness. Entrepreneurs bringing out in silence, burning out in silence. Those words are weird to say. A generation building business without asking what they're leaving behind. I believe that community is what fixes it. Not more apps, not more hotlines, not more productivity hacks, really. Real human beings in real rooms, virtual or physical. I would love to host an annual physical event where all of us can get together and meet and share stories. Who give a damn about each other and our growth and well-being. In creating the legacy I look forward to all of us having. And I believe that entrepreneurs and founders who are willing to go inward, who are willing to ask the hard questions about who they are, where they came from, and what they're building, are also going to be the change we need in this country. Not just in their business, but in their families, in their communities, in this world. That's what it is. That's what I'm building. Let's build something worth leaving behind. And I'll see you in the next one.